Hi and welcome back to A Case of Books. Today I'm going to talk through my favourite books that are coming out in March. Now, as always, I haven't managed to actually strictly keep it to 5, and there are 2 that I want to just quickly mention before I get into my official top 5. So first of all, it's Caitlin Moran's new book, Manifesto, which I only got a couple of days ago, so I haven't had a chance to read it. But I'm a big fan of hers and what she stands for, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. Next is this absolutely gorgeous book from Kinsley, which traces the history of literature. It's beautifully designed and it's got something for everyone, whether you want to read it cover to cover and sort of do a complete history of literature, or whether you want to dip in and out and learn a little bit at a time. Now onto my top 5, and the first book actually came out last week, and it is The Mad Woman Upstairs by Catherine Lowell, who is an American author, and this is her debut. You might be able to see that the quote on the front cover is actually from me, which shows you how much I enjoyed it. I think I've mentioned before that I have a real weak spot for books about books, and this is completely about books. It follows a woman called Samantha, who is the last living relative of the Bronte sisters. Her father was a Bronte academic, and after his death he leaves her a clue which she thinks will lead him to a hidden part of the Bronte legacy. I loved Samantha as a heroine. She's so smart and funny, and the book is a really good, fun, fast-paced literary mystery for fans of Deborah Harkness's series and also of Jasper Fforde. Next is a book that is pretty difficult to explain. You might know this author best from her children's book, The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making, but this is an adult novel. The author is Catherine M. Valenti and the book is Radiance. It's told in several different formats, including scripts, conversations that have been transcribed, diaries, flashbacks, all sorts, and it all builds together into this heady, dreamy, beautifully written Art Deco literary sci-fi novel. It's set in an alternate version of the 1940s where space travel has already been achieved, so as well as all those different formats, it's also set on lots of different planets. The core plot point is the disappearance of a filmmaker called Severin Unk, but it weaves together a lot of characters and stories, and it's really worth sticking with it. It does take a little bit to get into because it switches between these formats so regularly, but the payoff is completely worth it. This is a pretty difficult one to compare to other books, but if you like decadence, beautiful writing, space travel, or literary genre novels, then I think you might like this too. The next book is a YA novel that is set in 1884 Hawaii, sort of, because it's actually about time-travelling pirates. It's called The Girl from Everywhere and it's by Heidi Heilig. Our heroine Nix's father is the captain of the ship The Temptation, which can travel anywhere in place and time so long as they have a map. However, her father is hung up on getting back to a specific time in Hawaii, where he hopes he can find Nix's mother again. There is so much to like about this. The eclectic, diverse crew of the ship, the amazing world building. I absolutely love the time travelling concept. It made me desperate to visit Hawaii, which I've never been to before. It's also got a gorgeous romance as well, which is not all cheesy or saccharine. And the writing all the way through is beautiful. I can't wait for the next book in the series. Next is another one that's really hard to describe, another one that defies genre categorisation, and it is Elinor by Jason Gurley. It starts off as a very lyrical exploration of family secrets and depression, and it's told across a couple of generations of a family, and then suddenly it flings you into this kind of mad time rift world, and there's dreamscapes and time travel and all sorts of stuff going on. It's rare that you can say this, but this genuinely just wasn't like other things that I had read. You really do need to just go with it, and it does completely reward the time spent, and everything gets wrapped up really pleasingly. It follows a family in the aftermath of a horrible accident, and it is about twins and choices and family and time. And I just found it so beautifully hypnotic and unusual. If you like the hard to categorise work of Neil Gaiman or China Miéville, or even the film Interstellar for the kind of small town setting and time rift fun, then I think you might like this one. Now, I don't actually often get on that well with collections of short stories, but my final pick for March is an absolutely extraordinary collection. It's called An Unrested Woman and it's by Shobha Rao. I do tend to prefer collections that have a pretty clear theme, and this has that. The stories are all inspired by the 1947 partition of India and Pakistan and the effect that had on women's lives. They are all distinct stories, but there is some overlap with characters cropping up in a couple of stories, and I really like that, and I feel like it makes it a really cohesive collection. The stories give voices to women in all sorts of different circumstances. The collection is beautifully written, but it also has this strong current running through it of anger and dissatisfaction about women's lots in life. I found it hugely moving and hugely impressive, and I think it will particularly appeal to fans of A Thousand Splendid Suns. So those are my favourite books coming out in March. I'd love to hear if you've read any of them and what you make of them. Here are some other places you can find me, including my new monthly newsletter where you can find out a little bit more about the books that I've talked about. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next month.